Hi 3-4s, today we are learning how to subtract fractions with the same denominator. This should be quite easy for you as we've already learned how to add fractions with the same denominator, but we're just doing the opposite operation. So subtraction and addition work quite closely together. So our first one is 4/5 subtract 1/5. We need to see our very first step is to always make sure our denominators are the same and we've got 5 as the denominator. Our second step is just then to add our numerators, so that's our top numbers. So 4 take away 1 is 3 and our denominator stays the same. So our answer is 3/5. We then need to check, do we need to simplify this number? So is there a highest common factor that goes into both 3 and 5? No, there isn't a number that goes into both them. So we can tell that this is in our simplest form. If I was to represent this as using a picture, the equation would look like this. I would have my whole, separate my whole into 5 parts. I begin with 4 parts out of the 5. And then I am subtracting 1. So I'm just going to cross that out, my 1 out, and that's where you can see that I've got 3/5 remaining. Let's do another one together. 7/8 subtract 2/8. First step, are our denominators the same? Yes, we've got 8 as our denominator. Second step is to subtract our numerators. So 7 subtract 2 is 5 and our denominator stays the same. Then we need to check, can we simplify 5/8 any further? So are there any numbers that go into both 5 and 8? And so the numbers that go into 5 are 5 and 1 equally, and we know 5 does not go into 8. So this is in its simplest form. If I was to represent it using a picture, this equation, I would have my whole, and my whole we know is broken up into 8 parts. That's what our denominator tells us. We have begun with 7, and then what we need to do is we need to subtract 2. So I'm just going to cross out 2 of the parts, and I've got 5/8. Now we're going to try one without drawing a picture. So 5/9 subtract 1/9. Our denominators are the same, so we go to the second step, subtract our numerators. 5 subtract 1, 4/9. Check. Can we simplify this any further? So are there any common numbers that go into both 4 and 9? No, there are not, because the only numbers that go into 4 are 4, 2, and 1. And 4 doesn't go into 9, and neither does 2. The next one is a little bit trickier. So 11/21 subtract 8/21. So we check, are our denominators the same? Yes, our denominator is 21. We then move to the second step, subtracting our numerators. So 11 subtract 8 is 3. Our denominator stays the same, so 21. Now we need to look 3 and 21. Can we simplify this fraction even further? So we want our answer to be in the simplest form, but we need to make sure that we're showing all our working out. So I know the numbers that go into 3 are 1 and 3. So I need to think, does 3 go into 21? Yes, it does. So what I'm going to do here is 3/21 to show my working out. Both our numerator and denominator must be divided by 3 because that's our highest common factor. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 21 divided by 3 is 7. When we're thinking about our divided by, it's the same as saying, well, how many times does 3 go into 3? Once. How many times does 3 go into 21? 7. So our answer is 1/7. 3/21 is still correct, but it's not in our simplest form. So we need to make sure when we're subtracting fractions that we always put our answer in the very simplest form it can go, and we show our working out of how we got that. Let's try one more together. The next one is 14/16 subtract 4/16. Step 1, check if our denominators are the same. Yes, 16 is our denominator. Then step 2, add our numerators. Sorry, not add, subtract our numerators. 14 subtract 4 is 10. And remember, we place it over the denominator, which is 16. Then we have a look, 10/16 is our answer, but can we make it in a simpler form? So what are the numbers that go into 10 and 16? So if you'd like to help you, what you could do is create a little list of numbers that go into both them and then see the highest common number. So I always start with what the number is itself. So I know that 10 goes into 10 and I work down from there. And I think, does 9 go into 10? No. Does 8 go into it equally? And I keep working down. So I know the next number that goes into it equally is 5. 4 doesn't, 3 doesn't, 2 does, and 1 obviously does as well. And if I do the same with the number 16, so I know 16 goes into itself, and I work my way down. The next number is 8. 4, 2, and 1. So then I'm going to see, well, which is the highest common factor that goes into both of them. So 10 obviously doesn't go into 16, 5 doesn't go into 16, vice versa. So my highest common factor is 2. So I'm going to use that. So we are going to divide the numerator and denominator by the highest common factor of 2. So 10 divided by 2, or it's the same as saying how many 2's are in 10, which is 5. And then how many times does 2 go into 16, which is 8. So our simplified answer is 5/8.